cast your mind back to the days of lockdown, and everybody was bored, and everybody was clapping for the NHS, and everybody was stuck to just 1 or 2 walks a day. Those were the elements and the conditions in which it was all formed. It sort of happened upon chance to a point. I had to pop over to my mum's to help her get something out of her loft. While I was up there, I found my old paints, my old spray paints, and I was like, so I took them home, and I thought I would do a little something for the NHS, a little thank you thingy, pop it out front of my house. That's how I'm going to contribute. That's a thing. So I had a go, and I loved it. Absolutely fell in love with painting again. I was like, it'd been 15 years off, so I was like, oh, just life got in the way. That's the thing. I reached out to my local council, because at the time I was living in Pershore, Worcestershire. So the council said, yeah, of course, we've got the skate park. I went, oh, brilliant, yes, thank you very much. So I painted the skate park, and then I was like, hey, council, thank you very much. What's next? And they were like, you can paint the skate park again. I was like, cool. Well, I've just done that. I kind of just, all right, well, thank you very much. Keep me in mind if anything becomes available. So that was a sort of dead end for me there, but the fire had been lit within inside me, and I just needed to paint all the time. So as everybody does with joys and hobbies in life, they look on YouTube for similar projects and things. And there's a chap in Scotland. No, he's not. He's from Germany. And he built a wall in his back garden, like a wooden panelled wall. So I priced up doing something similar here. And although I didn't have the space for me, I was speaking to the council to get some, like a local space. And it was about $3,000. I love it, but that's a lot. And I'm too impatient. So I stumbled across another artist in Russia, and he painted on cling film just in some woods. And I was like, that's a cool idea. I'll give it a go. Bit dubiously, because everybody imagines, they're like, how does that even work? Does it work? Does the paint stick to it? Does it cling to the film? But it was actually relatively forgiving. It was all right. It was a good canvas. So I set about, I grabbed some cling film from work, the big industrial stuff, the wide, it's like a metre sort of wide, and went down to my local park and wrapped a tree and painted my first piece, which was a robin, because ultimately I thought, what will people like? What do I enjoy? What will people enjoy? It's a park. Do I want to detract from the natural beauty, or, hopefully reflect some of it? So that's what I went with. I painted a robin. The next day or the same day, I painted a kingfisher down by the river. And I thought, well, that's it. It was just a matter of time before the police get me. But they didn't. Nobody came knocking. Nobody, nothing. In fact, the opposite. Everybody was like, wow, look at this. This is cool. We're on a walk and we see something, and this is beautiful. So then that was it. Everywhere I sort of hunted people, followed their little trails, like the little rabbit runs people use, and found the most picturesque spots that I could put something up, and just try to paint as much as I could. And it was always something to do with nature. It was always an animal, because ultimately that's kind of the whole point. That's why you're out, because you want to see something beautiful. Really, I just wanted it to look like it should be there. So when people stroll by, they go, a hare or a badger or whatever I painted, a hedgehog, and kind of, try to keep it as local as I possibly could. That said, I did paint a flamingo. And yeah, the first roll of cling film was from work, and I did the 2 pieces. But after that, once it got a bit of sort of hype around it, people were like, well, what is the impact on nature here? Doesn't it seem a little bit, ironic? Or you're putting more plastic at a time when we're trying to get rid of plastic, you're putting more plastic into nature. And I was like, oh, no. So, fortunately, I found a company that did biodegradable cling film, a company called Kingfisher, and they were relatively local. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. I've just painted a Kingfisher. They're called Kingfisher. It is obviously meant to be. So then I started using their cling film. People were enjoying their walks a little bit more, getting the kids out. I mean, it's the same old walk. But fortunately now it's a bit of a treasure hunt sort of thing. So that brought me a great deal of joy. At the end of I was only expecting them to last maybe a week at best, but they were up for a couple of weeks because people were starting to come from all over to enjoy them. Charity got in touch and they said, what are you doing with them, buddy? And I was like, well, I was just going to give them away, I guess. They're like, can we have them and sell them? So yeah, I went round and mocked up ultimately 2 frames, so I sandwiched them, and sandwiched the cling film in situ, then cut it out, and that's how I managed to save them all. It was really good. I really enjoyed it, but then it sort of was good and bad, because at the same time it got me a little bit of recognition and people wanted walls painted, and that pulled me away from it then, you see. Now I had actual locations to paint and the lockdown was easing up. I was like, oh, okay, this is fine. It became a means to an end, and I do keep meaning to go back to do some because they're fabulous for pop-up pieces. So hopefully that's helped. It's a bit rambly, I'm afraid, but hopefully there's something good there. But if you've got any questions, fire them away, and I will go over them and dig deep and make something up. Yeah, absolutely, more than happy to help. It's super cool. I love to see what you're going to do with them and how it turns out. It's an underrated material for sure. It's more than just for sandwiches. So yeah, one of the schools in the area started painting on cling film as well with the kids and stuff. So that was kind of cool. So at least, it started opening up some avenues for other people too, and not just myself. But yeah, really enjoyed it, and 100% would back everything that you do with it.